Congressman, this sit-in has turned into a really big deal across the country. Did you anticipate this when you were hatching this idea? I'm guessing it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago?
We knew that this was an issue that people really cared about, and we also knew that people were incredibly frustrated that Congress was doing nothing. We did figure out that never before had there been an actual sit-in on the House floor that anyone knows of. And of course, anytime you're doing something with John Lewis, it already takes on a certain kind of historic significance. But I think we tapped into, not only in the country, but in our colleagues. What I really learned in the course of the night as people came to the floor to make remarks and be part of it was there was deep passion on this issue, that people were really committed to not only doing something about gun violence, but to being part of an effort to break the logjam in Washington. And we also saw people just gathering on the Capitol Hill grounds. Some people stayed through the night in pouring rain, holding umbrellas, just to show their support. So it tapped into what I knew existed, was deep frustration on the part of the American people that nothing's being done about this issue, and a willingness to really stand with us and support us as we try to figure out a way to force the Republicans to do something. So, and this National Day of Action grew out of that. It never occurred to us that they would adjourn the House. They said, a gift to Wall Street before they left, at 2:30 in the morning, and then they adjourned without ever addressing these bills and just snuck out of town, which we didn't anticipate. And so, when we go back on the 5th, we have to figure out ways to bring this issue back and to continue to figure out a way to force them to bring these bills to the floor, because we're not going to give up. This matters a lot. And, although I'm frustrated about their refusal to bring bills to the floor that will make college affordable and let young people go to school debt-free, that they refuse to bring things to the floor that will raise people's income and raise the minimum wage, that they refuse to bring bills to the floor that will provide paid family leave, equal pay for equal work for women, and dealing with climate change. You can give a whole list of incredible frustrations. This issue, though, involves questions of life and death. People are dying because of Congress's inaction and because of our failure to enact common sense gun safety legislation. And we just can't rest until we finally force our colleagues to be responsible and take these bills up.
Now, Congressman, take us behind the scenes for a minute. Tell us exactly how you all hatched this plan. Who came up with the idea to do actual civil disobedience?
Well, the first conversations happened with Catherine Clark, myself, John Larson, and John Lewis. And Catherine was really the one who wisely said, we've got to do something with John because of the kind of credibility he has in terms of a civil action, a sit-in or whatever. And so we met and we sort of came up with the idea. Originally, actually, we were just going to stand in the well of the House and refused to move. And it was only on that morning that John Lewis turned to me and said, I think we should sit down. And I said, John, I'm doing what you're doing. You've been through this before. And he was right. It was the symbolism of reminding people of the struggle of the civil rights movement and of sometimes having to sit down in order to stand up for something. But we had to kind of keep it in our little group because, frankly, we weren't sure what the leadership would say or whether they would try to discourage us from doing it. And
was it your first time being involved in civil disobedience?
Well, I've been on a picket line. I've sat in and protested in schools.
But here you're actually.
But this is on the House. Right. This is on the House floor, which. Everyone felt like we had to come up with some idea that would try to break this logjam and force the Republicans to confront this issue. And we were successful for most of the day. They really didn't know what to do. Like, they kept trying to come to the floor, and we didn't allow them just to do business as usual.
What was that feeling like when you prevented Paul Ryan from conducting business on the House floor?
I think for a lot of us, we felt like for the families that have experienced so much grief and such broken hearts, to finally see someone stand up and say, stop. We're just not going to do business as usual. We're just not going to allow this day to continue like nothing happened. I felt for those families, they really appreciate it. In fact, tonight, there were parents here who lost a child at Virginia Tech, and they said, thank you so much. We saw you doing this. We felt like for the first time, someone's trying to do something. And I think that's what motivated all of us to stay in this. 26 hours was not easy to be awake, sitting on the floor. But
I made it till 2:30 in the morning, and that was as long as I could.
But this is an important fight, and I want our Republican colleagues to know that we're going to continue to find ways to force them to do their job. This is about taking up this issue, debating it. They don't have to vote for it. If they want to make the argument that people should be able to be on the terrorist watch list, they're too dangerous to get on an airplane, but they should be able to buy an assault weapon or another gun, let them make that argument. If they think, we shouldn't have universal background checks, which work and prevent felons and domestic abusers and suspected terrorists from buying guns, they don't think background checks are a good idea. Come to the floor of the House and say that, and vote that way, and just be held accountable. People are sick and tired of government not being accountable. This is an opportunity to stand, for what you believe in, make your case, vote the way you think is right, and let the American people say, we may lose the vote, but the American people have a right to know who's supporting common sense gun safety legislation and who's not.
So are you at all afraid that this will kind of change the political tenor? Are you worried that people will stage sit-ins for lesser issues now, or that this is a new era in politics where you can break the rules if the issue matters enough to you?
No, look, I think we all approach this in a sober way. Nobody thinks like breaking the rules is an easy thing to do, but sometimes you have to break the rules to stand up for something really important. John Lewis is the best example of that. He broke the rules. Rosa Parks broke the rules when she refused to get up and she sat down on the bus. Sometimes these fights require finding a way to get in the way, as John Lewis says, and making trouble, good trouble. And sometimes it's the only way that you can both bring attention and galvanize people to move forward and make change. And that's maybe one of those instances.
Tell me how you've seen evidence that the action moved the needle already. Tell me some of the ways you've seen.
Well, there are these national days of action which wouldn't be happening but for the sit-in. So they're happening in dozens of places all across the country where people are being activated to say, something's changing. There's a fight brewing about responsible guns, and be a part of it. So I think, I suspect my colleagues on both sides of the aisle when they're home for this break are hearing from their constituents. I hope they're hearing loudly and clearly that they want something done to reduce gun violence in this country. But just activating the American people who are, overwhelmingly support these bills. It's not a question of convincing them. It's a question of making sure they understand their voices matter, and if they communicate them to their members of Congress, it can make a difference.
Now, what are your Republican colleagues in the House saying about the action? Are they rolling their eyes, or are they saying, "Whoa, that was effective"?
Well, they're not. They're not. I wouldn't expect them to acknowledge it was effective. I think they're not sure what to do with it. They seem sort of uncertain about kind of what's going to happen next. But I don't think there's any doubt in their minds that this issue, this sort of movement, has really raised the consciousness of our country, and that our caucus is highly motivated to continue to work hard to make something happen.
Is it a movement at this point? Is this a movement against gun violence at this point?
I think it is, absolutely.
Are we going to get a vote in the House? Are you going to win your vote?
I think we will get a vote, I predict. I don't know that we'll win it, but we'll get a vote, and that's a win. If we get a vote where we can force people to at least let their position be known on these two important issues, that will be a big victory.
Well, congratulations, Congressman, and thanks for sticking up for the American people.
Thank you.
Thanks.